We have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order. We have to do a lot of things differently because this is not working. This is happening too often. It's an honor to be here.
Okay, so this comes as the former president is making crime a focus of his campaign, as are Republicans up and down the ballot. He accuses President Biden, of course, of being soft on crime. However, the most recent crime FBI stats show cities with populations greater than 1 million seeing an 11% drop in crime. So, you know, is this still a winning issue? I feel like crime and the economy are two things that have lagging indicators. There's a perception out there, and it's not just Republicans, that crime is a major problem. And will it still be a major problem? Will it still be a voting issue in November?
So I think crime is it's an interesting issue for Republicans. He's a terrible messenger for this issue, though, because every time you bring up crime and he's the one talking about it, it goes back to talk about his cases, which I think with independents who want to believe that crime is an issue, who want to lean towards him.
Street crime, not feeling safe, your average citizen on the street, and what President Trump is going through.
There is, and I think you can even talk about, I think Democrats in D.C. will talk about issues of feeling safe walking their dog. My wife and I talk about this all the time. But in the broad sense of crime, I think there's going to be a question of whether they want Donald Trump to be the representative to talk about dealing with crime.
That says that people think that he's going to be tougher on crime. And
Republicans always win that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think that's really important. And the other thing about something that he did like this today, I think it was really, really powerful that he did this because 85% of voters, Republican voters, say that they feel like Donald Trump cares about people like them. And when he goes out and does things like this, it makes it seem like they care, that he really, truly cares about these issues. Now, if you don't like him, you don't see it that way. But
yeah, but where was he when cops were being attacked on January 6th?
On a day by this is a win for him today. Right?
Yes.
It's a genius move to do this particular event.
And the contrast.
That's exactly right. Now, Biden will do it to him. There'll be a big Trump fundraiser someplace, and Biden will do something. But
all right, I'm going to get to
that. Look, if it wasn't March,
all right,
I might care.
Normally I would. Normally I'd reach out to polls. Normally I'd bring up a poll when the conversation lags, but this conversation's not lagging. But I'm still, out of force of habit, going to bring up a poll. The poll is: who would you vote for?
Is that when you bring up polls? Is that what you're doing to us?
I just realized that.
Thank you for that insight.
Who would you vote for today? Vote for if the election was today, or should it be were today? I don't know. Biden, 48%. Donald Trump, 45%. And you can read it for yourself, and then you had Kennedy. Thank you very much, Mick. And you had Kennedy, and it looks like President Trump surges
Dead
into
heats no matter what.
All right. So the significance of these polls.
So I will say the 48% number is interesting because we're seeing President Biden's numbers get closer to that 50% margin, which I think should really terrify Republicans. I think this idea of the 13% number for RFK, those numbers,
they're all over the map.
They're all over the map. Yeah. But not only that, I don't hear Democrats who would vote for Biden in any other term saying that they would now go vote for RFK Jr. because of something that happened.
All right. One more poll. Here we are.
Another one.
Decision Desk HQ.
Okay.
Thank you for the glasses, Mick. I think I can handle it.
All right, I'm just checking.
Battleground polls. We're talking. That was a national poll. Let's forget about national polls. Let's talk about battleground polls. Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Still pretty tight. Although, what is Georgia doing? Give me those glasses. Trump is winning all lead.
Yeah. And that's the point.
You're the pollster. Tell me why I should care about a national poll.
You shouldn't. Actually, I think it shows momentum. It shows what's happening at a point in time. Really, what matters is these states that matter.
Would you call it a lagging indicator?
I would call it a lagging
indicator.
I
would call it a lagging indicator, too.
But I would also say, though, these polls are really significant. You look at the numbers he has in Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Trump is winning in all of those states in the polls, and he has for the last 6 months.
What was
that
the date
is significant and important.
October 5th. That's when the bottom will drop out for Donald Trump. Write it down so that we all remember.
All right, I'm going to be calling you,
5th.
and I'll be calling you on October 6th, and I'll get dinner.
It's on or about.
NewsNation Nostradamus is here. All right.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.